take number 2. We're laughing, we're walking. And here we go.
When these dads meet world, boy meets world.
When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
In fact, take the rolls. Take all the rolls. You know, I actually got a complaint, Brad, because these new Texas Roadhouse rolls came out and are in Walmarts right now. Not sponsored, by the way. But I bought some today thinking, oh, this will be a nice little thing. Throw them in the oven. Bada bing, bada boom. 10, 15 minutes later, we'll have nice rolls. No, a half hour later. I'm sorry. We don't got that kind of time. We live in a house full of children that demand to be fed now. Anyway, with
Yeah.
all that said, I am Tyler, one of your dads of this wonderful podcast known as Dads Meet World. It's a Boy Meets World podcast where we go step by step, every bit of the way
by
through
day.
this 90s classic known as Boy Meets World. I am joined by my co-host, not
Ushkar.
Witch of the of the occult.
I am Ushkar, Queen of Malevolence, Daughter of Evil. I am not played by Candace Cameron Burr. I am Brett.
Yes, welcome, Brad. 1 second. All right. Sarah's now able to keep an eye on him. So, fun fact, good looking people, especially those that aren't parents that are listening, you're not in control of your children's sleep schedule. People say all the time, well, the best thing you can do is get them on a sleep schedule. Get them on a sleep schedule. Listen, the first child we had slept whenever we put him down. He would fight it, but eventually, once he was out, he was out. This second one, he lays down, he's out, we don't hear a sound from him, and then he is awake and angry and not sleeping and won't go back to sleep and wants to be held. So anytime you hear this is what you gotta do, this is exactly what you gotta do, this is exactly what I do, and it works every single time, don't trust those people, don't listen to those people, they don't know what they're talking about. You gotta do the best you can. That's my little soapbox for the day. But Brett, how are you? What's new? What do you want to talk about?
Well, we are, let's see, what's new? What's new? Everything and nothing is new. We're through a bunch of home football games. It's all but one or away football games. So we've got a pretty light schedule for football for our marching band.
Well,
Now
as we
it's
were,
a bunch of
I was messing with my mic. We were just both talking about homecoming. So we both of our schools had homecoming this weekend.
in September.
Yeah, that's weird.
Our school hasn't gone anywhere, and they're already having homecoming. Because of the schedule, the way it was laid out, our school had 5 home games back to back to back to back to back. And because of the way they're laid out, we get 6 home games this year. And the last one has to be senior night, which means homecoming is the 5th of those 5 home games. Which, by the way, good looking people, we got obliterated 44 to zip. And, 49 to zip was the final score. And we didn't go anywhere. We just came back home after a week away of, just hanging out at home, apparently. And
that's weird to set up your schedule like that. It doesn't make sense.
I don't know how it happened. 2 non-conference games, and then three conference games, and then the rest they'll all be conference games, 3 non-conference games, and then 2 conference games kicking off the rest of the conference schedule. And
weird.
yeah, and then there's homecoming dance tonight, and Toby was at the homecoming dance, and yeah, I'll edit it
Abby
out.
didn't
But
go to her last one.
No. Abby went to did she even go to one high school homecoming dance? I don't think she did. No, Abby does not do dances. No, Abby does not do dances really at all.
Too cool for school. I get it.
Went to like one formal dance in middle school, and that's pretty much it. Not her
Fair.
scene. So yeah, well, I'll edit it out, but I'm gonna pause somewhere in the middle here to go pick him up from an after party, Toby, and then we'll dive back in.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I will say my team, they fared a lot better. It was a hard fought game the whole way through, and honestly, the other team just got some calls I thought they shouldn't have gotten, and it was one of those games where just the very few little mistakes you can make, if you're the team that makes them, you're the team that loses. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just the way it goes with this sport. I
That's the way the oblong ball bounces.
Mhm. Well, I had a chance to interact with one of my former students, and so at one point she was saying, "I just don't understand football whatsoever." And I said, "Okay, let me talk to you like this. Like, let's say you're down by like 3 goals, and you got like 5 minutes left to go. What do you do? Cry." I said, "Okay, well, that's not an option. What is a strategy you could do?" And she starts describing, well, we either try to push forward to get quick scores, or we bring more defenders in so we at least don't let them get any more of a lead. And the way she was describing the different ways that she could, you know, make things better. I went, okay, what you just described is what they're trying to do. And I was like, they have these moments where they might be able to get a deep ball. They're missing the deep ball. And I said, and then these wide receivers are now getting frustrated, and now they're not focused, so now they're not catching the easy passes. And I just said, what you're describing, all the ways you're describing, is exactly what this offense is trying to do. She goes, huh, that makes sense. I said, yeah. And she goes, I still understand why they stop. They stop and then they go and they stop, they go. I'm like, well, you're running a marathon. That's what your sport is. This is human chess. And if you can accept that,
Mm-hmm.
yes, they're stopping, but, you know, we set things out, they set things out, and then it's either do we go with this the way it's supposed to be? Do we go with it not supposed to be? She goes, I don't know. I just don't understand why things just don't go the way they're supposed to go. I'm like, they're supposed to go how they're supposed to go. So, yeah.
Ah,
I was having a
yes.
lightning football conversation with someone that didn't want it.
Yes. So, would you say that your homecoming game provided you with?
Vast emotional damage.
Um, yes and no. I will always be a beaver. That is who I am. It's always going to be a part of me. I always want my team to succeed. I believe in them. It's hard to watch them lose because I remember when I would lose and how hard I would take it. So I know this isn't an easy weekend for them. And more importantly, I will always be there in support of my team with whatever they may need of me, which is normally nothing. uh, but getting to share some time with my son, watching football with him is always wonderful. And I did stay after the game. I got to watch former students and current students of mine performing in both bands. So I was like, well, I might as well stick around.
There you go.
One of them is a manager, and so our football team dumped a bunch of ice on our sidelines. I don't know why, they just did. And so where my little youth came, who was trying to set up one of the ladder chairs things that the conductors go up on, he had to pivot. So I was so proud of him for pivoting the way he did and making it work. And so I always find the joy in everything, Brett, but I'm angry about that picture I sent you. I'll always be angry about that. In fact, I might frame it in my house so my children see that and go, why does daddy have that up there? My wife can go, because your father is crazy. And he wants you to be just as crazy someday.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Mhm. Yeah. Also, by the way, Alan Matthews was a sports dad when we first met him. What happened to that?
Yeah, I kind of miss that dad sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The dad that'll wake his son up in the middle of the night to go watch a no-hitter on the West Coast.
No talk of football whatsoever. No talk of baseball. Nothing. I just don't get
No.
it.
Yeah.
Not even complaining about the bowls.
No.
Nothing. You would think Alan Matthew would be complaining about the bowls.
You would think so.
You'd think so. It's almost like, Brett, they don't know anything about Philadelphia.
Almost.
But you know what this show surprisingly knows a lot about, Brett?
What do they know a lot about, Tyler?
Witches.
Oh, yes.
From 3B.
So let's talk about those witches from 3B that we're going to learn about this week in The Witches of Pennbrook, the 5th
Yes.
episode of season 5, wherein we find Jack puts girls in front of friendship when he falls for a girl named Millie. Eric, on the other hand, soon discovers that the girl is a witch, but Jack is in too deep to see the truth. Meanwhile, Topanga needs to overcome her fear of flying when she and Corey travel to Pittsburgh. This episode was written by Steve Hibbert. This is the 5th of 6 episodes he'll write for us. He wrote Singled Out, Chick Like Me, Quiz Show, Security Guy, and we'll see him one more time on Honesty Night. Directed by Alan Meyerson. Originally aired October 31st, 1997. Currently enjoys a 7.6 on IMDb. And let's look at our Nielsen numbers. Last week, we had an 11.21 rating with the Nielsen's. Tyler, did we go up, down, or stick around the same number? What do you think?
I have to imagine, Brett, that the special guest of this episode had to have brought up the numbers at least a little bit. It had to have. There's no way around it. And because it's Halloween, I'm going to guess 13.
Ah, you guessed wrong. I'm guessing because it aired on Halloween night, they lost some of their audience to trick or
Of course it
treating
did.
because we dropped to 10.20, a full million viewer drop.
Ridiculous. But, I mean, when this episode should be airing, a lot of families and children should be going home, going to bed. So why such a drop? I mean, I guess college age and teenagers aren't watching. I don't know.
Maybe there were Halloween dances. I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyway, I turn the tables over to you.
Well, fine, I'll take it. We get a really weird episode, Brett, because not to get us too far ahead, but there's 3 cutscenes that just go to a jump for Eric and Jack,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
we've not had that before in the show.
this episode leans full into the heightened reality world of Boy Meets World. This is very similar to the craziness of Who's Afraid of Corey Wolf, where Corey is turning into a werewolf, not really, but kind of is type of weirdness, but on a
Hmm.
whole nother plane. This is
I
probably
mean,
really this is probably the beginning of the zaniness we'll get to see in
like consistently.
the latter half. I mean, this is the first real look at the kind of zaniness we can expect to see coming down the pike.
Hmm. Yep. So yeah, Eric and Jack are getting ready to go. Apparently clubbing. There's a nice
Yeah,
club they're gonna go to, and there's special ladies that are gonna meet up with them.
one word,
Um, I,
you're with me.
yeah, I just I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Jack being so unconfident. I mean, I guess the only way I can say is maybe he's just shy still, and he's an introvert, so it
I
takes
mean,
some time to really
they spent
get
so much time in his first episode painting him as the new guy in town, not knowing anyone, not knowing anywhere. It seems kind of odd that 5 episodes in, they're still really leaning into it.
right.
But I mean, in the nature of episodic television in 1997, you're kind of in, you're out. Who knows if the person watching it was watching the last week or the week before? His character is kind of a placeholder. It's kind of an archetype, but it does get old if you're watching episode to episode. It shows very little growth for him.
Right.
But I
Well,
mean,
I mean, the show even kind of calls that out a little bit, like right here, this moment of, remember, new guy in town,
it's a
looking for
little bit of a.
roommates.
I mean, I mean, school starts generally end of August, beginning of September. That's where the season started. We're here pretty much in world almost on Halloween night. He's been on campus for 2 months. I mean,
He should
he
have
can't
friends in some of his classes by now.
he can't really still be that kind of a naive
Right.
dude still.
But if he is an introvert, it does make sense that his more extrovert friend gets him
hmm
out of his shell. These two have a good friendship. So in Jack's
hmm
mind, I have my best friend here already. Like, this is the guy I'm going to commit to being his friend, and I'm not looking for another. I mean, in this world's understanding, you have one male best friend, and that's it. You can't have another male
Yep.
best friend. I mean, to be fair, in a lot of male relationships in general, it's odd to have like a bunch of guy best friends unless you live in a house full of them.
hmm Indeed.
Can't choose a best man to save your life.
That's right. Hey, I live in a house with 9 other guys. I had 2 best men.
I know. It was one of my favorite stories of just when I watched the first time I watched your wife's eyes roll in the back of her head of like, and he couldn't pick a best man. You're like, I had two. It was fine. She goes,
Yeah.
you're supposed to pick one, and he didn't pick one.
Hey, the role of the best man is to protect and defend you from any potential attacks at your ceremony. If I can have 2 to defend me from any outward attacks, more power to me.
Sure. But and I'll also say, like, it does get the vibe in for these two of they kind of just do everything together. Like they'll go on double
Mhm.
dates together. Um, and Jack kind of is leaning into Eric and Eric's outgoing personality, and I do. I get the joke that will come later on of you're the reason why we have uh,
Campus escorts.
campus escorts. Yes, but like the general like hitting on that Eric is doing at the time is pretty accurate, and it's not that crazy to think of that's what a college student would be doing, loving someone with their eyes.
Loving with my eyes. Eric Allison Matthews. Yes, you're the reason we have campus escorts. Yes, I
Yes.
am. We're
Uh,
completely aware of it.
so Brett, we go to the hallway because these two again trying to go to a club, and we meet into another person from 3B.
Yes, I think they cycle in every couple of weeks. That's just like a transitional apartment.
It must be.
Yes, this is Millie, played by Candace Cameron Burr. Man, that name sounds familiar. First and only time we'll see her on Boy Meets World. 74 acting credits to her resume, including Punky Brewster, Who's the Boss, Growing Pains, Bill Nye the Science Guy, Sybil, That's So Raven, a butt ton of Hallmark Channel movies, and of course, she was DJ Tanner on Full House and Fuller House. So, yes, this is definitely stunt casting. This episode takes place after Full House wrapped, so this is kind of a
Oh my Lanta.
oh yes, oh my Lanta. This is kind of really in the world of Candace. This is kind of a break from her traditional role. And if you know Candace as a person, apart from her acting, taking on the role of a witch who wants to steal a soul and sacrifice a soul, that's really way outside of her comfort zone for what she wants to do. So, yeah, interesting choice for stunt casting. I will say though, I saw it. Someone pointed it out that I saw over the last week that she does a lot of eyebrow acting, and I could not
Mm-hmm.
unsee it now.
Fair.
she
Well,
she like raises her eyebrows like 5 times in one sentence, and I just can't unsee that anymore. She does that to get her point across. And I would have to go back and rewatch some of her other stuff to see if it's just this character or not. But like Millie is
I'm
like
assuming that it's
I'm,
not,
yeah.
because DJ Tanner's face is very expressive. So I'm assuming that's the child actor that couldn't leave her as she got older situation. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
But
and
Millie's
one of the
forward.
things I will say, we'll get to it ahead of time, but one of my deep dives, I did look up of what her take is, because I know she's talked about it in interviews, and basically she said at the time that she was like, "Well, I'm an actress, so I'll take whatever jobs I get." And now she was like, "Well, I probably wouldn't take that role now," which is fair, and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay if later on in life you're like, I really am not happy with that.
Wish I hadn't done that. We all have regrets,
Right.
but hey.
Right. No, and she says that like the people of the show were very welcoming, and she was very free, and she didn't feel uncomfortable on set. She felt like, yeah, what the actors were able to help me do in this made it feel like we were just having fun together. But in the reality of, I'm playing a witch trying to worship Satan, I'm not happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's okay. Not everyone has to take every single role.
Yep. But yeah, but Miss Millie chick is very forward, especially when she encounters
Yes.
Jack.
Yeah, so let's just get into it, Brett. She goes from meeting to her and Jack are on the balcony making out because Eric comes home, takes his pants off. Go ahead.
Hello? Anybody home? Nobody's home? Goodbye, pants!
hmm I mean, I'll be honest, Brett. In my home, I own that the only roommate I had was my wife for many years. If I'm home by myself, or even honestly, if she's here, who cares? I'll take off my pants when I get home. I don't care. But
Oh, I've used this
living in a
Eric call
place with
myself
other
before.
people, you know, in the living quarters, I never did that.
Can't say I ever did this when I was living in a house where potentially other guys' girlfriends would be around. No, but in my own house, yeah, I've used this
Yep,
before.
big difference.
Anyone home? Goodbye, pants.
hmm
Yeah, I have.
Uh, yes, and then we cut to the next scene, and Millie is officially Jack's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it happens very quickly. Of like, they're making out on the balcony. I love when Sean comes in. We have a balcony.
Yeah, it's
This is my
Sean
favorite
is
version of
so
Sean. You can't tell me otherwise.
just completely. I have to say up at the top here, I love the way they play Sean through this whole episode, where he is oblivious and where he is just completely on board with the way everything is so out there.
hmm I mean, one could argue, Brett, that he probably is on something this episode and just going with the flow.
That's very possible. Yeah,
And that's
somebody slipped a little
okay.
something.
Yeah. Yes, but it's revealed very quickly that not only does Millie not like Eric, but she progressively is trying to separate Eric and Jack in their friendship.
Oh, she is very antagonistic towards Eric, and
hmm
I did clip some of their first real interactions where we see this pop up. It's just very
Oh,
brief here.
please.
You know, Jack, I'm really glad you met somebody, but don't you find her a little freaky?
Why? Because she chose me instead of you?
Well, I didn't even think of that. Come in, we can't move!
Hey, Millie.
I was up all night thinking about you. What's he doing here?
Gee, I don't know, Mill. I live here.
I brought breakfast for you, Jack. Smells good, doesn't it? Why don't we go have it out on the balcony?
Oh, Millie, too bad. So sad. You're gonna be eating all by yourself. You see, Jack and I are running up the Rocky Steps today.
They're just, I mean, there is no love between these two.
No.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
also, this is the first time we've got an actual real Pittsburgh reference. Something that they could do is the Rocky Run
Mm-hmm.
and getting to the Rocky Steps.
Yes.
I just love this is like the first time we have anything like that, and I also love that they're stretching, and you're like, why are you stretching like that? And they say we're finally limber enough to make this run.
Mm-hmm. They've been stretching for months, or at least
Yeah,
weeks.
they might say
Um,
like a month,
yeah, yeah, but yeah, and I mean, Eric's, she's hugging you, she's holding you, she's kissing you. It's just wrong.
Yep, very true. Um, yes,
Yeah.
but she's very aggressive very quickly. Good looking people out there, if anyone is coming on to you very strong and aggressively as she is, that's called love bombing, and you want to avoid love bombing. This is a 22-minute show, so we have to get into it very quickly that they go from meeting each other to boyfriend and girlfriend, though.
Yes, there is this episode does move at breakneck speed. We don't have any clear indicator of what day is when. We know it ends on Halloween,
Mhm.
but I mean, this is a very, and it is for TV time's sake, yes, but this is a very swift episode.
Yes, very quickly, very much indeed. Um, I just, and also, she does this thing to separate the two of them where she will make Eric the aggressor, and that is, for lack of better wording, a narcissist will force someone against someone else by taking a tone of like, I mean, can you are you gonna let them do that to me? Like,
Hmm.
can you believe the way he's acting? And Eric or Jack
Yeah.
just goes, yeah, I can't believe you right now, man.
Hmm. Yeah.
But then we get to my favorite cut to back to the apartment when Eric sits down to watch Halloween Part 9.
I have this.
And now we return to the frightening conclusion of Halloween Part 9.
Hi.
How did you get in here?
Jack made me a set. Bug ya?
Bug ya.
Bug ya. Okay, there's a couple of things I want to say about all this. First, and okay, first, I love that. Eric watching scary movie, hilarious. Second, making your brand new girlfriend keys to your apartment you share with two other roommates, huge no without their consent, giving this girl who you've just started dating keys to your home that you share with two other guys. Huge no. And three, there is no Halloween Part 9. The Curse of Michael Myers was the sixth movie in the series, and it came out 2 years before this, which, by the way, first big break for Paul Rudd. Any of you Paul Rudd fans out there watching this. So the ninth would actually either be the Rob Zombie remake in 2007 or the David Gordon Green requel from 2018. That's all
You
we
want to know
know
which one it is?
about. Well, it depends on what you want, but the ninth one actually made was the Rob Zombie one in 2007.
Yes, it was.
But some people really do not like the Rob Zombie ones, so they ignore them.
Right. Well, I mean, we could take some time and deep dives to talk about the timelines and how they work.
Oh, we can. I'll be happy to. But I just wanted to point that out here. Good looking people. I'm a big John Carpenter fan, so
Mhm.
I will always
Well,
point out stuff about Halloween.
I guess the joke I would see here is really that just you just throw a number on it and it makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a throwaway joke based on slasher movies that just keep going and going, like Friday the 13th, and Halloween did keep going, but at that point there were six movies in the series. I mean, Friday the 13th has had 12 movies come out. Nightmare on Elm Street has had several. Halloween has had 11 now that have been produced. So I mean, it's just a throwaway joke, and I mean, it's funny. I have no problems with the joke itself. I just like to point out there was no Halloween Part 9.
Correct.
But
There is no continuing story that's part 9.
giving your girlfriend, your brand new girlfriend, keys to come in to your apartment all of a sudden with no consent from your roommates that are paying to rent and are on the lease, no, big problem there.
Yeah, well, and that's the. I think that's a little tension too, because Jack, quote unquote, is on the lease as the main, uh, um, renter, um, and so I guess the question is can he just do it without getting the permission of his roommates? Technically, yes, but he really should get their okay before he just makes another key. It is one thing for Corey to have his own key because essentially establishing this as like a brother's den to get closer together,
Mm-hmm.
but also the babes. Um, but yeah, I think it's interesting the way that they play this out right now, and just Eric screaming at the TV to screaming at Millie is just magical.
I will never not laugh at that.
Hmm.
And Jack really should know his girlfriend's last name.
Yeah, that also bothered me. Simple fact that he doesn't know her last name. You shouldn't give your key to someone you don't know the last name.
Yeah.
Normally, you tend to learn the first name and the last name, but I will say this is a sitcom. This is a character that'll never come back, so it's
I'm Millie
fine.
from 3B.
Yes, Millie from 3B will go along with Rachel from 3B and all the other women that we're going to meet from 3B.
Gunther, Central Perk.
I do love that Eric tries to use an analogy that essentially Jack is a small town kid coming into the big city and he's getting tricked and hoodwinked by this woman. And he's like, I'm from New York City.
That town ain't so tough.
That town ain't so tough. Which, I mean, okay, I will say that is a sentiment I know that Philadelphia people have. That,
I will say, if you put a Philadelphia Eagles fan up against a New York Giants fan, I will pick the Eagles fan to win in a fight.
yeah. Yeah, I would too.
Dude, Eagles fans threw batteries at Santa Claus when he came into the stadium one year.
That they did. That they did. Yeah, but this whole discussion is going into maybe we should just be roommates, maybe we're not actually friends. So there's an intensity to all this going on, and also a questioning of what are Jack and Eric to each other? Are they just
Mm-hmm.
each other's roommates, or are they more than that? Have they found a friendship that is important to them?
Yeah, and granted, this is a Halloween episode. This is a holiday episode, and in 1997, these were almost kind of a standalone, its own type of thing. They don't normally work in with a lot of continuity. It's usually kind of its big event thing, Halloween, Christmas, Easter episodes. If they did them, they were normally kind of its own type of production. But
Mm-hmm.
up to this point, through the first 4 episodes of the season, it's kind of nebulous. Are Eric and Jack more friends than roommates, or more roommates than friends? So we're kind of exploring that here.
Yep. We finally get Brett to a location that's not the apartment.
Yes.
The Matthews' kitchen. Again.
Woohoo!
Matthews' kitchen one more time. Again, we will not see the living room. Another episode this season without the living room.
That's right.
Yes, apparently Corey and Topanga are preparing for a trip where they're going to go on a romantic journey to Pittsburgh,
Yes.
where Corey reveals that, they're not going to be driving. In fact, they're going to fly. And Topanga's concerned because she's never flown before.
I
Except,
call
Brett,
bull.
how did they get to Florida?
In season 3 for her trip to Disney, which she had no problem going. She was all excited, and her trunk was full of hair products.
I mean, unless they want to make the case that since that trip, maybe she has some turbulence and She doesn't want to go back up there, and she's hoping that Corey won't call her out on it. That's the only thing I
Except
can
for
think
she
of.
says specifically, I've never flown before. Everyone flies. No,
Yeah.
this is just bad writing. This is let's pretend everything before this doesn't exist and let's just use this as our B story and pretend continuity
I
doesn't
mean,
exist.
Brett, every single season we've reset, and whatever happened last season doesn't matter.
I'm still calling bull. Topanga does not have a fear of flying. This is just even though we have a soft reboot every season, this is just bad on the part of the writers room.
Yeah.
They
And
wanted
I
to
will
create
say,
as far as the story goes, if we didn't have established that Topanga has been on planes before, I'd be fine with it. The story in and of itself, it works for the Corey and Topanga relationship. I buy that the characters have that type of an interaction. It is a huge mountain to get past that Topanga all of a sudden has never flown before and has a fear of flying that she never had in 4 years of the show before. That being said, if you can ignore that, yes, the B plot can work.
yeah. I do like this interaction though, Brett, because Corey's
Mhm.
trying to go, well, everyone's been on a plane. Horses could even go on planes. And Topanga's, was just like, I've never been on a plane before. We know that's a lie. Or at least
Mhm.
we know that that's not true, even though the character in this moment might not realize it. Um, and I like that, he realizes that she's not being very okay. Wow, he is not being very sensitive, and he apologizes
Mhm.
because I'm sorry. I feel like he's like, can we discuss flying over a nice dinner? Are you afraid of restaurants too?
Now, I will say one other thing though, because Corey does betray a little bit of his privilege in this conversation too. Not everyone flies. My first
No.
flight was a sophomore in high school, and the only reason that I flew before I graduated high school was because I was a part of an international mission trip where my team had to raise the funds to purchase our plane tickets. Had I not been a part of those trips, my family could only ever afford to go on trips that were road trips. We didn't fly anywhere. I never flew anywhere with my parents, my brothers and sisters, and it was only until my kids have only ever been on one flight with Kelly and I up to this point in their lives. And my oldest is a senior in high school, my second oldest is a sophomore, and my third is in fifth grade. And that was only, I think, 2 years ago that we were able to take a trip. We went down to Florida and we took a flight with them.
Yep.
Hey, Florida on a flight.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, and this was 1997. This was 1999 that was my first flight. So I mean, a little bit of an assumption on his part there that everyone flies. Not everyone can afford to fly.
And I'll also say, Brett, that this is in the '90s again, of course. Yeah, gubbit. um, sorry. What I want to say is that I first flew as an adult. I was 23 years old, and I flew to Florida. But to fly to Pittsburgh, I don't know why they're going to fly to Pittsburgh, other than just time wise, just faster. Because really, you're just kind of going up and you're going back down. Like it's not a huge time commitment to fly.
Hmm.
Honestly, they're better off finding not a actual like quote unquote liner, but someone who just has a small plane who's willing to fly,
Hmm. Wilson
and maybe
Wilson and Home
stop.
Improvement.
Yeah, maybe stop at like a in between place, fuel up real quick, and then continue flying.
And the external shots of the plane that they use for the stock footage they use for the plane, that's the kind of plane that they're really showing. Almost the kind of plane that they're showing. That would be great for Corey to
The
show.
interior and outside don't
They
match, in
don't
my
quite line
opinion.
up, but
No.
But Corey's
Exactly. But I
actually
mean, I
going the
will
right
say I
route.
like this interaction that the two of them are having. They're taking a lighthearted approach to this. Topanga is worried, and Corey is slightly making jokes, trying to make her feel better. And it is a classic line of, you used to think I was funny. Something I've said to my wife recently.
Yeah.
hmm We get to a very interesting moment, Brett, back on the balcony. You don't happen to have this one clip, do you?
I have a little bit of audio from it when Eric's talking to
Okay.
Jack, but I didn't have any of the video.
Gotcha. That's all right. Yes, Millie apparently is starting a spell or incantation for the Dark Lord to come forth onto this very special balcony that they have. And
She loves that balcony.
Eric kind of walks in at the end
Excuse me.
and it's kind of saying, "What you doing?" And Billy's like, "What did you hear?" He goes, "I heard
Heard
you
you
talking to
talking to
Satan."
Satan.
And of course, Jax walks in. Hey, got pizza. And Millie, and this is some intense gaslighting. Millie, she ends up smacking Eric, claiming that he tried to kiss her, which is when these two really start to fight. And like how Eric responds is, "She was talking to Satan."
Yes, gaslighting before we had the word for it.
Yeah, this is truly gaslighting. He claims that she's a bad witch, not like Glenda, but the ones with the monkeys.
I think she's a witch. And not a good witch like Glinda, but a bad witch like with the monkeys. She doesn't belong to you, Jack. She belongs to El Diablo.
And but also, this is where she says, "Are you going to let him talk to me like this?"
Mm-hmm.
Again, more gaslighting, more narcissistic, trying to control the situation without being the bad person. So,
Yeah.
just a interesting conversation, and it really does lead to Eric or Jack saying that the two of them are just roommates. That's all they are to each other.
Yep. Just a name on the lease.
hmm And apparently, Millie is moving in.
Which could cause some real problems considering, there are already 2 roommates. There's only 3 bedrooms. And, well, when you have a lease, you are only allowed to have people who are on the lease that can live there. And there are
hmm
usually special provisions given for long term guests. So Billy can't really just move in. But that's a real world thing, not a Boy Meets
There are
World
rules,
heightened
Millie.
reality. You can't just move in, Millie. There's rules. Yeah.
And of course, Eric and Jack are watching the things that she's bringing in, and he's quite concerned. And
Cauldron.
yes, I see a cauldron. It's
and there's
Halloween. It sets the mood.
and here's where we actually we get Sean just kind of like,
Yeah. Finally, Sean.
I thought she was. I thought she was a witch.
Yeah, I do love that. Like, huh? She's not. I thought she was.
And Sean is just so open to the idea of Millie and her friends just being witches. Like, oh, yeah, I thought they were. I mean, come on, just look at everything. Look at them.
I mean, I
That's right, they
don't
were.
mind them going back to Sean. Kind of will do whatever he can so he can interact with pretty girls
Mm-hmm.
because that's part of his mo.
It is. Sean will pretty much be all things to all people to be with the pretty girl, except for a nerd. He won't be a nerd.
No, although that's what he really is.
He's a softie.
Yes. So, yes, they are getting themselves all ready for the moving in and potential party that they're throwing. Of course, we cut to the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Corey and Topanga getting on it, and at this point, Corey reveals that he got the price, the ticket for $12 because the uh, the
They're just
plane
getting out of
company
bankruptcy.
is
This
getting out of
was
bankruptcy.
JetBlue before JetBlue.
Yeah.
Hey, if I can get tickets for $12 on a working airplane, that's not a bad deal.
No. We meet a character named Dexter, Brett.
Yes, Dexter is played by Christopher Wheel. First and only time we're going to see him on Boy Meets World. He does have 70 acting credits to his name. He showed up in productions like Jag, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Wings, Sybil, Clueless, the TV series. So another TGIF product. Can't Hardly Wait, Early Edition, Charmed, ER, Touched by an Angel, CSI, Monk, Ghost Whisperer, Psych, Medium, Body of Proof, Law and Order SVU, and more. I thought he
Nice.
did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he came in, did his job, and I don't have any complaints about him and his acting. That's for sure.
Not at all.
That's not sarcasm, by the way. We thought he just did a good job.
No, I thought he did great. I wouldn't mind
He
having
was
him back.
convincing at what he was doing.
He was playing the goofy, almost frat bro pilot, and
Mhm.
he hit his marks and did what he was supposed to. I enjoyed
Yep.
him.
We finally run into Feeney, Brett. He and Morgan are outside his house. And apparently, Mr. Feeney is
Say
holding
it
the candy at ransom. Yes.
with
He wants them to
vigor.
say the rules, trick or treat.
I can totally see Mr. Feeney demanding that you say trick or treat for your
Mhm.
pocket thesauruses and candy.
Yes.
It's spot on. Oh, yes. And I did clip Mr. Feeney and Eric's conversation. I could not
Good.
go through that I could not clip that.
I'm in a fight with Jack about his girlfriend. Same old story. Sure, you heard it 1,000 times. She's a witch. She talks to the devil, and apparently I'm standing between her and the doorway to hell.
You're definitely not sleeping here.
I know, but of all the nights to fight, I mean, Halloween. This is the one holiday that's supposed to bring loved ones together.
Yes, well, I'm sure your friendship is strong enough that you'll endure a little argument.
Now, friends aren't supposed to let girls come between them. But Jack has made it perfectly clear that I'm just his roommate. I don't know why I'm letting this bug me.
Well, if he was just your roommate, you wouldn't be out here talking to me. Now, Eric, just think of some way to get him to hear you.
You didn't even break a sweat on this one.
I hate to see people fight on the only holiday that brings loved ones together.
Merry Halloween, Mr. Feeney.
In fairness to Eric, because that's something that other people also say, mostly Sean. But in a way, Halloween is one of those holidays that does bring people together, and you're not gathering to share presents. You're not gathering out of guilt that you have to go somewhere to have a meal. Like, you just end up seeing people for a short time period. You say hi, you reconnect
You're
a little
gathering to
bit.
have fun.
Yeah, you're having fun. All goal. Yes. But it's great advice that Feeney gave, and it really didn't require much effort on his part.
Yeah, just think of some way to get him to hear you. It's straightforward, and Eric just needs to find a way to make himself be heard.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do love that we cut to the next scene, and it's Corey on the plane. Mr. Feeney answers, and he says, "Hey, tell me about this kid." He's like, "I cannot give you any information. That is private information. I cannot say anything." Well, he's my pilot. Oh, whatever
Oh,
you do,
don't get on that
get on
plane.
that plane. Goodbye,
I
Mr.
love you very
Feeney.
much,
I love
Mr.
you
Feeney.
very much.
You'll be fine. I do call bull. There's no way Corey could have made a cell call from that plane to Mr. Feeney's house in
Brett, it's the
1997.
90s. It's TV magic.
I know, but still. I know
Big
it's a
Wireless was
suspension of
dropping
disbelief, but there's
dimes.
no way Verizon had that powerful a tower that he could have called from the plane, even if he was that low.
Never know.
But it's the story to moving on. Episode's got an episode.
Exactly.
Right, Steve?
I do love that we go to Topanga is actually flying the plane, which is why there's a little bit of turbulence. Because Captain Dexter wants her to feel comfortable, and one of the ways he thought he could was putting her at the controls. So,
Yeah, I
okay.
thought Dexter was very gracious and considerate. He was a fantastic pilot for a nervous first-time flyer.
Yeah.
And his face is hilarious as he's letting her fly. He's just sitting there giddy.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, we'll go back to the apartment, and there are a lot of people in hooded cloaks, Brett. And they're all dancing and chanting and going, oh.
Ooh. Sean wants them to start over because they were off on that one.
Yes. Yeah, Sean is just having a ball in this episode right at this
Oh
moment.
yeah.
There's no way around it.
You can almost hear Sean ready to say, "Ladies, to the closet."
Yes. But it's actually genuine for him. I do love that Jack realizes very quickly that this is a mistake. Like, you're wearing these costumes. And in a very creepy voice, she says, it's not a costume.
It's kind of sad that it takes Millie saying, "I'm not Millie, I'm Ushkar, Queen of Malevolence, daughter of evil," for him to finally say,
Mm-hmm.
"I think we need to break up."
Yes. And of course, Sean gives encouragement to do more oohing and waving his arms.
Yeah. Hey, can anyone want to switch shrouds with me? I got a medium. I'm a large, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
sizes they were.
Exactly. So yes.
So they want immortality. They've got to sacrifice a hunter on this spot.
Yes. They gotta sacrifice
Yep.
a hunter, apparently. Apparently the last name will do. And they tie him up to the balcony, like the balcony that leads into the loft hallway situation they have. That's weird. But yes, they're in trouble. And luckily for them, a Matthews could be helpful. So Eric
Dun, dun,
hops over,
dun.
saves Jack, and leaves Eric.
Ah, yes. And he picks up something useful from the library. Not the bridges of Madison County.
His Bridges of Madison County.
Witchcraft for dum-dums.
Yeah. I like how it says, it doesn't say for dummies, it says dum dums.
Yeah, they can't use the for dummies because that
Yes.
would be too much of a residual to pay. Too many royalties.
Yes. Yes, but apparently there's supposed to be a light that's going to hit the a crystal that they have out there perfectly that's going to come over and destroy
It's going to
the
incinerate both Hunter boys.
yes, and
And
get
SPF
immortality to Candace
45
and
on
her
Eric's
friends.
Tuchus is going to be able to block it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they don't do that, and Jack is kind of without.
Mm-hmm.
So, they a light of a light beam kind of comes in and zaps Eric's butt, and they're like, "What happened?" And it's like, "Hey, SPF 40 and Vaseline. That's what my mom uses."
Little zinc oxide.
Yes.
And everything's over. It's all anticlimactic. Everything's done.
Yeah, everyone just kind of leaves because the
Yep.
party's over.
They've been waiting for 1,000 years for this opportunity, and no more.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
I'm assuming that they're being their sacrifice now too is not going to be happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yes, we cut to the two of them acknowledging each other as their friend. They just comment on how you gotta love Halloween. It brings people together.
It is. Although, you know who doesn't bring together? We have no scenes
Sean?
in this episode. This is a third and last of 3 episodes through the run where we don't have any scenes with Corey and Sean together.
Yep.
Yep.
Strange.
By hook or by crook and stormy weather, the other two. This is the only 3 episodes, and this is the third one.
Yes, Brett. But we go to the tag where there's another young lady over by the balcony.
Yes.
Can you tell us who that young girl is?
This is a young lady by the name of Sabrina, played by Melissa Joan Hart. First and only time she'll appear on Boy Meets World, and yes, she is playing the role of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. 78 acting credits. You can see her in like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Clarissa Explains It All, Touched by an Angel, the aforementioned Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Superman the Animated Series, That 70s Show, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, Melissa and Joey, and a lot more.
Yeah, she's had a very prolific career.
She really has.
Honestly, if I have to choose between Sabrina or Millie, Candace Cameron Bure, or Melissa Joan Hart, I choose Melissa.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But yes, Eric is now out there with a girl named Sabrina, and Eric just throws it out there to her of, this may sound weird, but my buddy was just with a witch, and I don't know how to feel about that. It's like, what's wrong with dating a witch? Which wouldn't. Okay, they leave, and then it's a joke because Sean is a frog. Don't get it, but whatever. Wouldn't you love to have had an episode where Eric shows up as a boyfriend potential for Sabrina, like just for one episode?
I would have loved that crossover. It would have been a great, not this feels wasted on a tag. I would have loved that crossover.
It does. Yeah, I would have loved
her. I don't know
her.
how they get, because Sabrina takes place in where
Connecticut.
In Connecticut. Yeah, I don't know how they get Eric from from Philly to Connecticut, but I'm sure they can figure that out. But this just feels like waste because they have good chemistry in this very brief moment together.
Listen, Will Friedle has chemistry with
With
every single woman on this show. He has good chemistry with Candace Cameron Bure. The whole time I was sitting there going, man, Millie and Eric should be dating because these two actually have chemistry together. And then he is also having chemistry with Sabrina. What's the deal?
Will and Candace kind of gave me the vibes of more attractive Drew Carey and Mimi Bobek. I've been watching a lot of Drew Carey show lately.
Cleveland rocks. Cleveland rocks. But yes, that's the tag, Brett. And Sean just says, gotta love Halloween, bringing people together.
Yep. I do wish they could have gotten a better puppeteer to work.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing.
It's very distracting, but oh well. I mean, Sean's a frog. Come on. Well, I'm already suspending disbelief, but okay.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Tyler, so since we've covered this wide world of witchcraft
Witches?
and yes, do you have any deep dives for us?
I do.
People. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
So, Wicca, also sometimes referred to as Wiccan, also referred to as the craft, is modern paganism, syncretic, earth-created religion, considered a new religion, movement by scholars of religion. The path evolved from the Western Astrotism. Sure, developed in the England during the first half of the 20th century, and was introduced to the public in 1954 by Gerald Gardner, a retired British civil servant. Wicca draws upon ancient pagans and the centuries Hermetic moffats and theological and ritual processes. So, I guess I read that, Brett, for the sole purpose to say that witches themselves are not good. However, there are people that are peaceful beings that just want to say good into the environment and the world. And, I've seen a lot worse from other people that claim to believe stuff that they don't seem to practice. So, worst case scenario, someone's spreading sage in areas, good on you. So, a couple movie references that they make throughout this episode. Obviously, Wizard of Oz, with the she's not Glenda, she's the bad one.
The one with the monkeys.
Yes.
I
There's
think she's a
reference
witch. And not a good witch like Glinda, but a bad witch like with the monkeys.
There's a reference to Rosemary's Baby. At some point, Eric or Sean asks, "Hey, Rosemary, how's the baby?" Reference, of course, to Rocky because of the stairs situation. Reference to Halloween, and at the time there was only 6 available. There is Halloween. Yeah, and again, um, the Witches of Eastwick, and then this also references the Little Mermaid.
Under the Sea.
And then, of course, reference to Sabrina the Teenage Witch. A flight from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh. It is possible at this point to have, for a ticket, would be like $115, which is not horrible.
Probably not a whole lot more than a bus ticket.
Basically. The Rocky Steps. The Rocky Steps and the Rocky Statue are undoubtedly 2 of the most popular attractions in Philadelphia. Funny. Yeah. So the big thing about the Rocky Steps / the Rocky Run is they go up to the Museum of I want to say natural history. Let me see. Love seeing all the things in. I don't know, I'm confusing myself now. Anywho, let's get Brett into the Halloween, and we'll end that. So the 9th Halloween movie is Halloween 2007 from Rob Zombie.
Yes.
And it kind of takes almost exactly the same path as the one that was originally made. Slight variations, really, but not anything too ginormous. Interesting. Writers were Rob Zombie, John Carpenter, and Deborah Hill. I was not expecting that.
Well, the writer credit for Carpenter and Hill is simply because they were the original writers. Zombie took his own swing at things, and Carpenter said, "Do what you want."
Fair.
The major the major structures are there, so there's a lot of the similar poles are there to put the movies side by side. But there is a lot of different stuff between the 2 films.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
And I will say Tyler Mane is a very imposing figure.
Yes. So, Halloween came out in 2007. This is the Rob Zombie version, rated R, runs for 149 minutes. Again, Rob Zombie, most known as a heavy metal rocker, decided to become a director, and thus he created his version of Laurie Strode, Dr. Loomis, and Michael Myers, of course, and also has his wife starring in this movie. And in this situation too, there is no previous Michael Myers. It's just this is Michael Myers.
Yes, this is its own thing.
So, Brett, would you like to describe a little bit about the Halloween timeline?
Yes, there are several Halloween timelines. Originally, the Halloween movie was made basically for pennies. And the idea was, let's just make a Halloween movie. It was kind of not the very first modern day slasher film, but it was kind of the second after Black Christmas. And it was so popular that John Carpenter's vision was kind of not to create this whole series in one universe type of a thing, but it was more of a oh man, I lost the word. The idea was to release a new film every year with basically a different story, and I am completely blanking on the word that I want to use for it, which is why Halloween 3 is completely different. But Halloween 1 did so well that the producers wanted to come back with a whole different. They really wanted to keep going. So you basically have Halloween 1 and 2. 3 is completely different. So you have 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Then Rob Zombie's 3 is his own thing. It actually has scenes from Halloween or Halloween 2 in it on a TV. Then you have Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2 are their own thing. And then you have David Gordon Green's Halloween in 2017 ignores everything except for the very first Halloween, and his trilogy goes. So you've got Halloween, Halloween 2017, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. So yeah, there you go. You've got multiple timelines in Halloween. And for those of you who are fans of Marvel MCU, they're just like the TVA wants to prune them.
Well, it doesn't help, Brett, that there's also like Halloween 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are
Yeah.
all their own thing in this direction. And then you have like, oh, no, sorry, not 7, 8. I'm sorry. You have like Halloween H2O.
I completely, sorry, yes. Halloween H2O. I completely forgot H2O and Resurrection. Okay. H2O ignores 4, 5, and 6. It goes Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O is 20 years later, and then Resurrection comes after that. Which, honestly, don't ever watch Halloween Resurrection. It's so bad.
But can we be honest for a moment,
Halloween
Brett?
5 is bad, but Halloween Resurrection is just even worse. And Halloween 5 has really bad sound editing where they add in goofy clown sound effects when there's a pair of cops walking into the scene to indicate they're bad cops. Bad at their job cops. Not like we're going to kill you cops. But yes, what do we want to say about Halloween Resurrection?
No, not Halloween Resurrection. I was going to say Jamie Lee Curtis is like the queen of scream queens at this point.
She is the quintessential final girl.
Like
she really is.
It doesn't matter what age she is. If she's in a Halloween movie, there is a lot of gusto and a lot of good to said movie. Well, just for her pure being there.
As I mentioned, Halloween was not necessarily the very, very first modern day slasher film, but it comes on the heels of the very first. So it really is, in a lot of ways, the first. And so Jamie is pretty much the first. I mean, there was one before her, but Halloween is such a big success that echoes down through the years that Jamie really is pretty much the first final girl that has had such staying power. So, I mean, and her career has gone on to even, to spread out beyond just the horror genre. So,
well, and I think what's interesting about horror movies, Brett, is that you can have the bad guy just be the bad guy. Like, Freddy Krueger is someone who he just needs a final person to play off of. It doesn't have to be Nancy, although Nancy is wonderful, but it doesn't have to be Nancy. It still works as long as you have someone for good trying to stop him. Mm-hmm. I honestly don't think Michael Myers works unless you have Jamie Lee Curtis as
Michael is not as good without
Laurie.
Michael is not as good without Laurie, and the best Laurie is Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, and I'll even say like for the Aliens series, like Aliens does not do as good without Sigourney Weaver, and I
Mhm.
just don't think the Aliens people want to admit that.
Yeah. Although I haven't seen
So,
Romulus yet, so we'll see.
well, honestly, I have not watched most of these movies. I have not seen myself, but I'm always so curious about the
I've
spectacles
seen
that are most horror movies.
I've seen all of the Alien movies up to this point, and it's diminishing returns up to. There's some interesting things in the last couple, but I haven't seen Romulus yet. So, but I enjoy Fede Alvarez's stuff. So,
I'll tell you what does work, Brett. Jigsaw without a cop to hunt him.
you mean with Saw X?
I'll be honest. I watched. How long ago was it? It was a while ago. I watched that, but as it's coming up in the Halloween season, I'm like, the movie's pretty great.
I was
I want to
pleasantly
watch it again.
surprised with X.
Hmm?
Yes, I was pleasantly surprised. I do. Tobin Bell is a very underrated actor.
He is, and without him, that character would not be as good as he is.
Oh no, there would be no Jigsaw without Tobin Bell. I don't think they could have
Hmm.
fit anyone better.
Yes, exactly. And I love that he's still the man in the middle.
Yes. So if you want a deeper dive into horror movies with the dads of Dads Meet
Yes.
World, help us
Although I
with
will say,
Patreon.
as much as I've enjoyed this little going into Halloween and talking about horror movies, I'm a little sad that it was not. Oh, it just went away. Um, I'm a little sad it wasn't Leon the Gutsucker Part 9,
Yes.
which
Stumpy's
is,
Revenge.
yes, Stumpy's Revenge. So that's not that's the movie that they watched in the third season
Mm-hmm.
was about
That
Stumpy.
that would have been a fantastic deep pull. I would have loved that, but it doesn't have the pull that it would have, the instant recognition that saying Halloween Part 9 would.
Yes, I would love to watch a horror movie with Eric Matthews. That's for sure.
Oh, totally. I would be
That'd be
down
so
for
much
it.
fun.
I will pick the movie and sit on the couch with him. I will wear the poncho beside him because he will be throwing his stuff.
Is that what it's like watching a horror movie with Kelly?
If you choose your moments, it can be.
Interesting.
It is definitely what watching a horror movie can be like with Abby when you choose your moments right.
Yeah, so we have a one horror movie per year rule in our house, so I'm curious to see which one we're going to watch this year. Well, occasionally Sarah gets a little bit more into darker stuff, so she may be interested in more than that this year.
Mm.
I don't know. It all depends on how babies sleep. But Brett, those are the deep dives.
All right. Well, in that case,
Oh, I don't think I mentioned. It takes about an hour to fly to Pittsburgh and back and forth. So,
yes, good
yeah,
point.
about a 6 hour drive, 1 hour flight. So,
Yeah, I was going to say
frankly,
45 minutes,
if
but
I'm
yeah,
a
about an hour.
teenager, I'd rather do the 6 hour drive with my girlfriend and need to pull over occasionally.
Got to take a break. Rest my eyes.
Hmm.
Well,
If you
with
know
that
what I'm
being,
saying.
you know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying?
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
Tyler, what did you learn about what did you learn from the Witches of Pennbrook?
Well, I learned that Alan Matthews is not in this episode,
Yes.
nor Amy, but it actually works. And also, like,
Yeah.
I guess here's what I'll say. This is one of the last times that Corey and Sean aren't in a storyline together.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'll say is, uh, if you are good enough friends with somebody, you should be able to do your own thing without needing to have them be a part of your storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And it being okay to have times of breaks and times apart and whatnot. The old saying is that if I got together with an old friend, it's like we never left each other. And it's like that's the way it should be. If you're a
Mhm.
good enough friend and you care enough about someone, allow them to have their time where they can explore the world, do the things they need to do, and if you're supposed to still be friends, you'll still be friends.
Yep.
So, Brett, what'd you learn?
Very simple. If you have friends and they are expressing concerns for you, particularly about a relationship you're in, listen to them. I have seen this happen in real life. I have had friends express concerns to me about relationships, and it behooved me to listen to them. And it
You were
behooved
a youth pastor trying to warn a youth.
if your youth pastor is trying to give you some guidance and advice about a relationship you're in, perhaps you should listen. But really, I mean, if you have friends who are close to you who know you and they are trying to give you, they're trying to warn you, trying to give you share some concerns with you about, especially about a relationship you're in, uh, listen to them. They know you. They have concerns.
Yep.
Their concerns are more than likely valid, and even if they're not, at least listen to them because even if they're not valid, there may be some truth within them. So listen to your friends.
And if you stumble on someone talking to Satan, it's okay to be worried about that.
If you stumble on someone talking to Satan, especially if they're on your balcony, then my friend, what you need to do.
Run, man. Run like the wind.
Ah, yes.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
How would you grade this episode, Tyler?
I'm caught between two grades right now, so if you're confident, why don't you give yours, Brett?
I'm going to give it a solid A. Yeah, it's not perfect. I can't give it an A plus, but there's only honestly, it's as a standalone episode. It does what it needs to. It tells a story that teaches a lesson. There's humor. There's an engaging B plot. It moves at a swift pace, so the pacing is good. There is it's engaging, and it's got heart to it as well. You get to see growth, you get to see some character exploration, and from the time we start the episode to the time that you end it, we get to see an arc for more than one character. We get to see Eric, we get to see Jack, we get to see them both growing, and we even get to see Corey and Topanga discover something about each other. So, on the whole, I've already expressed my frustrations with it throughout this episode, so I can't give it a perfect A plus, but it is a solid A episode.
Yeah. No, I thank you. I'll also give it an A. I was caught between an A and an A minus, because the B plot is nothing. I don't know why it's even there, honestly. Um, like you could have had just the moment where Corey is on the phone with Feeney going, "Hey, I'm on this play," and I would accept that because honestly, there's not really a whole lot Corey does this episode. Um, but no, it's just one of those episodes, Brett, that's like you forget how much you like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go, "Oh, I don't want to watch that episode. That episode's weird." Then you watch it, and you're like, "Why don't I ever watch this episode more? It's such a fun episode."
It's one of those episodes I throw on every year around this time because I've got my list of Halloween themed TV episodes all intermixed with Halloween movies, and I throw it on every year. It's like, you know what? I really enjoy that episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, understandable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I believe you owe me a dad joke before we go.
Ah, son of a nutcracker, yeah. All right, what kind of food would you find on a haunted beach, Brett?
Sandwiches.
Yep, a sandwich. Why did the witch take a nap?
Why did the witch take a nap?
She needed to rest a spell. Let's go with one more. What would you call a witch with a rash?
What would you call a witch with a rash?
An itchy witchy.
All right, good looking people. That's all I got for us this week. If you want to reach out to us and talk to us, I think we got off on that one. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com, or you can find us on our social media profiles across Facebook, X, and Instagram at dadsmeetworld. And we've got just a few more episodes before the deadline comes for those 100 different ratings and reviews. I think we're safe so far, though, Tyler.
Yep. They just don't want to see this goodness. They want to see us be all sly.
Of this, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
But you can still leave us ratings and reviews. That helps other people find all this dad goodness. And we love to share the love. So,
Yeah, share the love.
Share the dad love. Until then, I'll see you, good looking.
Back to you, good looking.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid? Topanga.
We are the Dimmers.
This is good TV.
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.